Nova Scotia's EMO asked to use the hall as a registration centre for residents of Purdy who had fled their homes. An RCMP officer was posted here in a cruiser. By this time, police were on the hunt for the shooter, who they knew was impersonating a police officer. At 10:30 a.m., 2 RCMP officers fired multiple shots outside the hall. Sources have told CTV News the officers thought they were firing at the suspect when it was in fact a fellow Mountie.
This program is brought to you in part by...
Why don't you get yourself some turned-down collars, Poirot? They're much more the thing, you know.
The thing, Hastings? Do you think Poirot concerns himself with mere thingness?
No, I see that.
The turned-down collar is the first symptom of decay of the grey cells.
You know, I just think if people keep pushing, I can't, first of all, thank enough all of the hard work. There's 3 fellow YouTubers who are working very, very hard with me on this one. Rage in the Cage, Steve LTT, and Just My Stupid Opinion. Just plugging them, sorry. But they are fantastic guys, really been busting their humps here. And, you know, stepping up to the plate, because there's a certain amount of risk saying certain things. And also, likewise, all of the people who are volunteering information and time, which, like I said, over on the Discord or sending me anonymously information, it is fantastic.
Evening. Okay, so actually a decent time, right, for my friends down on the East Coast, 20 minutes to 9. Okay, so I wanted to run through a couple of things here. Many of you may be aware of some of this, but it gets kind of interesting. So this is not going to be focused so much on actually what happened on the 18th and 19th, but rather more demonstrative of where the RCMP is at this state. Lynn, Angela, Blue Nose, Point Fire, Ian, and Roan. How you guys doing? Okay, so many of you may have seen in the media, excuse me. Yeah, we'll do this. Many of you may have seen now in the media about Mr. Cameron Ortis. Cameron Ortis, who's been in trouble for a little while with the RCMP. Now, I've spoken before about how serious an intelligence unit the RCMP is, and we really need to wake up to how big a unit that they truly are. We're talking RCMP is Five Eyes material. Those of you who know, it's actually 6 eyes, but anyway, we won't go there today. But the Five Eyes, which of course is New Zealand, Australia, England, United States, and Canada. And these countries all pool their intelligence together. A lot of spying, UK spies on America so that they're not necessarily breaking the law all the time. Lots of shenanigans and very deep intelligence, lots of data harvesting. So spoken about the Project Wide Awake and Project Wide Awake 2.0, which was developed by the RCMP shortly after the April 18th and 19th. It was already in the works. And of course, that tender contract has disappeared. Not a surprise, of course. Charlene, AWOL, Ian, Ocean Girl, Mark. So this is what I maintain is actually, funnily enough, the big thing that they floated in there. And Maya, and what they floated in to, instead of this business about the gun stuff is old news. But what it was Project Wide Awake, which is very, very serious. And maybe I should just drop the link again for that, just so that people have a little bit of an idea. this will give you at least how pervasive this stuff is. Okay, so here's an article here from, they've got a couple of them over here on this tyee.ca. Very good. So I'll paste that in there. This is an earlier one. This is back from 2019. So this is Project Wide Awake, the first incarnation. Project Wide Awake 2.0 came along subsequently. Let's see if we can get that. That's RDI. Orange CBC. And I'll just, not to bore you who have seen it, I will just show you that they've already scrubbed off the contract from the hyperlink on the French CBC website. So if we scroll down here, RCMP looks to increase its digital data surveillance proficiency. We've gone through this before, but if you actually click on the hyperlink here for the RCMP tender contract tender, and you open it up, well, it's gone. So this is really serious stuff, guys. This goes into anything and everything that you can possibly think of on the internet, Internet of Things. Internet of Things. So whatever is connected basically in this world. So that's GPS units on your car, darknet, deep web, all of that is already, they're harvesting all of the data on everybody all the time. We went through the CSE. I went through the CSE a couple of times now, how large it is, and the RCMP are very closely associated with that. So have a look at that in your own time. Now, Margaret, we'll start off with Margaret Purdy. Margaret Purdy, interesting individual. She was the lady who was instrumental. Hi, Serene. How you doing? How you doing? Long time no see. Well, actually, no. I saw you in here last time. You had a good video there the other day. Oh, you always have great videos. Anybody who wants, check out Serene Christine's channel. All kinds of tinfoily good stuff. But of course, we're not going to. And we all know what tinfoil is in many cases. Now, Margaret Purdy, Canadian National Security Professional, head of Margaret's Bay, Nova Scotia, Canada. And if you go through here, she'll talk about, she has this very great resume, independent review, the panel for defense acquisition, Margaret Purdy's consulting. Of course, you know, they have all these jobs that they just invent for themselves. The, I don't know, it doesn't want to open. Screw you. Probably because it doesn't like my fake profiles. Okay. Minister Advisory Defense Policy Review, Research Associate Lou, Institute Global, Special Advisory Security. But then if you go down here, this is where it starts to get interesting. Director Security Operations, she starts off with that right away, moves into Director General Counterterrorism with CSIS very shortly thereafter, then into Privy Council, where she serves and Privy Council, this is the stuff that controls ATIP, so all of your access to information stuff. Very serious, high-level security stuff. Associate Deputy Minister, Department of National Defense. So when she was serving in CSIS, I believe she was the person that was fairly instrumental in getting Mr. Ortis hired. But she doesn't have much of a background. She has a Bachelor of Journalism and a BA Ed. So she can teach school. And she went to 1 year of National Defense College. Okay. So we're not talking about somebody who is heavyweight in terms of the intelligence field. No, she was a gosh, she doesn't even have a master's. Okay? That's pretty sad. And not really any work experience before moving into an extremely high level security position. Ortis, bad news. How's it going, citizen? Mrs. Lies. So we're going to go through an article here. Golden Boy espionage suspect Cameron Ortis was polarizing figure as he climbed RCMP ranks. Ortis and his civilian colleagues seem to be operating outside the normal. I'm not clicking the click roll agreement there, so I'm sorry if it's taking up half the screen. I just don't click on any of that nonsense, even though my phone echoes every single call. How are you doing, CSE? Ortis and his civilian colleagues seem to be operating outside the normal scope, the normal structure they came across as cowboys. Drugstore cowboys, like down at the fire hall? I don't know. As Cameron Ortis climbed the ranks of the RCMP, there was no disputing the depth of his intelligence or the ability to the nub of complex matters. To get to the nub of complex matters, he was among a select cadre of golden boys, civilians tapped by the force to help tackle national security and other highly sensitive files. So impressed was former Commissioner Bob Paulson. Bob Paulson and Cameron are on a first name basis. Sources say that he floated the idea to the senior executive committee on multiple occasions of elevating them to senior police officer or regular member status through expedited program. Let's just speed this one along. Why do I have all this junk on my screen? How do you get rid of this stuff? It's just, the idea did not sit well with that committee. In fact, some members of the force, while not disputing the importance of civilianization and bringing in people with diverse skills and perspectives, had cast a wary eye on the activities of Ortis and his colleagues, concerned about all information they had access to, what they were doing with it, and whether there was sufficient oversight. Here we go, Mr. Bob Paulson, his friend, former commissioner, right? Quote, the sense was that they were off doing their thing without too much supervision, almost carte blanche to go off and do whatever. They seem to be operating outside the normal scope, the normal structure, said one former senior official, told the National Post. Quote, they came across as cowboys. The question of oversight is now front and center after Ortis, 47, was accused last month, this is from a year ago, of violating Canada's secrecy laws dating back to 2015. He was charged under the Security of Information Act while communicating special operational information and gathering information in order to share it with an unnamed foreign entity. You know, they always warn us about the spies. Well, the spies are right in their own backyard, but they don't really care about that. Or terrorist group. He also faces charges under the criminal code, including breaches of trust. The investigation into Ortis, which started last year, was an offshoot of an FBI probe. Okay? So the FBI started this one up, basically, into the activities of Vincent Ramos. Vincent Ramos is a very interesting man. I know my source that I'm using wants me to kind of touch in this, and I will at some point. I don't think at this point in time we have to get more people on board, and it's I hope she'll forgive me. Is that doxing her? I don't know. She'll forgive me that it's right now we're going to try and identify with the RCMP people. We're going to try and explain how corrupt the white shirt program is in this country, which is why we had issues down in Nova Scotia. Into the activities of Vincent Ramos, a BC man who was later convicted of facilitating the flow of drugs around the world by supplying high-level traffickers with encrypted communication devices. An unnamed or an American source familiar with the investigation confirmed to the Post that a search of one of Ramos's electronic devices revealed that an RCMP employee had tried to sell information to Ramos. None of the allegations against Ortis, who remains in custody, have been proven in court. A 2-day bail hearing is set to begin on Thursday. Outside the criminal proceedings, questions have been raised whether Ortis has had undergone the requisite screening every 5 years for employees with top secret security clearances. This man he was at the top of the top, okay? Top of the top. We'll get into hopefully his education and things here in this article. An internal 2016 audit found, quote, significant backlog in security clearance updates from across the force. Any of you who have been are familiar with my channel from before, because I can't put any of my old videos back out because that will result in a ban. I spoke quite at length about Miriam Monsef, Trudeau's former knowledge of Miriam Monsef's background from the very onset and how she passed all the security checks. And she actually went on to lead the Privy Council, which means she had the highest security clearance in the country. All of the spying organizations and RCMP were responsible to her in an effect. But that just kind of got backlogged. All of these, always these investigations, right? Quote, I don't think anyone is going to question Ortis is a really smart dude with a lot of security skill sets. The character issues, though, what's going on there? Another retired RCMP official. I love I understand the culture of fear that these people operate in, but hopefully we'll get rid of that one and people can start to use their names. You need to look at the security clearance process and the maintenance of security clearances. Are there things around that there was a gap? That was a gap. The RCMP did not respond to an invitation to comment on the backlog issue. Do they ever have anything to say? No. That's clear. They never do. The Post spoke to more than half a dozen people who had occupied senior positions within the force to get a fuller portrait of Ortis's rise within the RCMP. Most agreed to speak on the condition that they not be identified by name. We go into this again because of the unfolding court case and sensitive nature of the allegations. After completing his PhD at UBC, Ortis had a postdoctoral appointment at the campus, on campus at the Center of International Relations. During this time, Margaret Purdy, okay? So we went through Margaret Purdy, who was a journalist, right? But then somehow just got to the top of the heap. Go away with that. Margaret Purdy, where was I here? Margaret Purdy, a national security consultant with a distinguished career in public service that included roles at the Defense Department, CSIS, and the RCMP, was an honorary research associate at UBC. Right, because she doesn't have a master's or a PhD. Right? She just gets the, you're awesome. You've got a lot of good friends. Appointment. To all of it. You know, if this was something else, I'd say it was kind of baloney bus almost. Two sources say it was Purdy who recommended Ortis to the RCMP. Purdy could not be reached for comment. I don't think anyone is going to question. Okay, so we've already gone through that. In October 2006, Ortis attended a conference at the Canadian Association for Security and Intelligence Studies in Ottawa. Senior RCMP members scheduled a lunch to meet him. Sounds like a bit of recruiting going on here. We thought, yep, he's got the technical skills that would be of use to national security, recalled Anna Gray Henschel, a former Director General of the RCMP's National Security Criminal Investigations Branch. You know that, of course, these people are handing out speeding tickets on the corner. Are we getting it yet? How deep these people are in. Quote, I was in charge of the strategic side. Based on his skills, we thought he was a good match for the operational side. They like the language. It makes them feel special. Ortis was hired in 2007. One of his first days, he was taken to the executive wing at headquarters for introductions. He appeared to be, quote, the ideal candidate and a, quote, real find, one former official recalled. Two sources confirmed that Ortis started his career assessing threats to Canada's critical infrastructure, such as subways and oil pipelines. The force at the time was ramping up its outreach to the private sector to enhance the sharing of information regarding threats and had developed a new suspicious incident reporting system. More fancy titles. During this first year and a half in Ottawa, Ortis, who was raised in BC, rented a furnished basement apartment in the home of Gray Henschel and her partner, who was a senior member at a different branch of the RCMP. These people hang out together, right? The white shirts, they only hang out with other white shirts. And high-level spies and politicians, obviously. Gray Henschel recalled Ortis doing a lot of traveling and working long hours. Quote, we had a rule that he couldn't have anyone over because we were in sensitive positions. He never violated that. Sources say, however, that Ortis, who liked to wear expensive clothes and eat out a lot, seemed to have money issues. Selling a used car, for example, to help pay down debt. You know, that's one of the things that they do in security background checks is checking your financial status. Because if you're going to be in a position with access to sensitive information and you have more likelihood to sell that information, well, you don't get the job. Don't worry about Ortis, though. Don't worry about anybody in this story. At one point, Ortis transferred from critical infrastructure to operations research branch. Staff there were responsible for identifying patterns and trends that could be useful to investigators. This particular unit was, quote, very locked down and had access to all manner of classified information, sources say. They were kind of almost like really, really secretive group, tucked away, really competent, highly educated folks. One retired RCMP official. Right, gravel road cops. Very serious stuff here, people. This was a particular this was a particularly fraught time in the RCMP's national security team. They were in the midst of prosecuting members of the Toronto 18 terror group that had plotted to launch a series of attacks across southern Ontario. An inquiry a couple of years earlier concluded that the faulty intelligence information supplied by the RCMP to the United States. Here we go. Sound like using Twitter? Can you do any of it right? Don't mess around with things that you can't do to look like you're big boys. No, you fail. Led to the deportation of Canadian Merhar Arar to Syria, where he was tortured. The RCMP introduced new safeguards to prevent future incidents. And yet, there was still a concern. A former senior RCMP official said about whether there were sufficient checks and balances, more garbage word salad, over people working in operations research and whether their activities could be defensible in court. Why are people taking them to court? Well, they wanted access to everything and anything, but wouldn't necessarily indicate why. Nowhere on the internet you can hide. Zero places. You want to use your VPN, you want to use your deep web, your Tor server, doesn't matter. They got it all. Another source said that perhaps of their civilian status, quote, I think there was maybe a concern. There was too much deference given to them without considering the evidentiary law enforcement aspect of that. They did have a lot of secret access. Nobody's asking questions, right? Nobody asked the questions of the white shirts. But Angus Smith, who previously worked in national security as a senior strategic analyst, said he never witnessed any negligence around security. No bias. Quote, there was a perception that they were trying to wall themselves off as kind of an elite group. White shirts, RCMP. But it's about maintaining operational security and the integrity of the information, he said. Following a complete restructure of the force's federal policing arm, a new National Intelligence Coordination Center was formed in 2013. According to RCMP publications, the center serves as a hub of intelligence. You know, that intelligence that they lose everywhere? Maybe I'll touch on the Assoon case. Anybody who's not familiar with the Assoon case, very good. And that's, I would say, Mr. Assoon can say thank you very much to Tim for that, because Tim really fought high and low. RCMP, of course, lied, destroyed evidence, lied in court, purposely withheld evidence from the defense just so they could get a conviction. I hear that shredder going again. You know, like the intelligence briefing. Wortman wanted to kill a cop. We destroy those things, you know. Gathered from domestic police, RCMP liaison officers and analysts deployed abroad and international partners. Okay, there you go. Once again, you have confirmation how serious these people are. That would be like Darren Campbell attending Quantico FBI, because, you know, he was just going down for the cafeteria food and all. Okay. The center uses that information to identify threats, emerging trends, and gaps in knowledge. In 2016, the center came under media scrutiny after researchers obtained, through access to information requests, records that showed the center was engaged in profiling Indigenous rights activists who were deemed as potential threats. The same records show that the center had produced reports and briefs on a range of topics such as cocaine trafficking in Latin America, organized crime in Macau, China, virtual currencies, and criminal use of firearms. Oh, there we go. The same year, Ortis was promoted to Director General of the center by who? False. Former commissioner of the RCMP. Mr. Paulson is really going to get rammed here. Then the commissioner. The promotion caught some off guard. Normally, such a promotion would be discussed by the senior committee. But this wasn't the case. a source said. I read it on the bulletin. Where's that shoehorn? Don't worry, just come over from school. You can head up our intelligence. We won't do a background check on you. You can head everything. Paulson, who is now retired, says the committee was advised of the promotion. Discussed, advised. But the promotion wasn't a complete surprise either. Over the years, Paulson was Director General and Assistant Commissioner of National Security Branch. Ortis and Paulson had been seen in each other's companies, on smoke breaks, working out and drinking in the RCMP mess hall. I want my underwear back. You can also give me my booze. I'm not going to drink it. Somebody else can. Bob appreciated intellect, a former senior RCMP official said. Well, he missed this one. Real intellect going on. Maybe it was Margaret Purdy with her Bachelor of Education. Two sources said Paulson had repeatedly pitched the idea to the senior executive committee of creating a, quote, direct entry officer program allowing highly regarded civilians to become high-ranking uniformed officers without having to start as a constable. This talked about that before. Somebody I know, let's just leave it that way, who served with police for a long time and would never hear anything negative ever about anything police related, however, had a special warm place for the RCMP in the white shirts. These people are a criminal mafia, but they're very connected all over the world. Scary dudes. So you get the job without anything. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go and have a smoke and a drink with Paulson. Then you get it, the job. Quote, it wasn't just one-off. He was pretty persistent. But when he received resistance, he didn't push on it. He didn't push it, one source said. There was a fear that such a move could create resentment among those who had put in 15 or 20 years or more to get the commission ranks. Morale was pretty low already. There was also a feeling that the idea needed to be more thought through and defensible. Bob appreciated intellect. Adurr. At one point, another source said Paulson suggested fast-tracking civilian members like Ortis through RCMP Training Academy in several weeks instead of the usual 6 months. You know, if you can't get them in one way, we're going to find a new way. We'll just invent the rules as we go. Quote, the focus is always on his guys, the source said. If these guys hadn't been around, then he may not have had this discussion. Paulson confirms he had tasked human resources with developing, oh, here we go, more word salad, conversion training standard for a whole troop of senior civilians, including Ortis, his baloney bus friend. The idea, he said, was to modernize the force by modernize. This is another vomit word. By including, quote, highly credentialed individuals into the officers' corps and to try to overcome some of the, quote, class distinction and prejudice. He who admits that there's a systemic racism problem doesn't address that, but you know what? Let's try and address this one. Held by many regular members towards civilian colleagues, but in the end, the resistance was just too intensive. Those people put in their time. They've had the security checks. They haven't gotten in trouble, hopefully, by and large. Yeah, I won't say that about the white shirts, but they have every right to be resentful. All the former law enforcement officials who spoke with the Post shared the view that however the Ortis case turns out, and despite concerns about oversight, the RCMP must not retrench when it comes to hiring civilians with special expertise and different perspectives from regular officers. One of the things, quote, one of the things that happens when they drink the Kool-Aid, oh, that's tinfoil, you say. When they join, they start thinking the same way. When you need, what you need is those different perspectives, one source said, citing the increasing complexity of crime, particularly cybercrime. How will you just stop pressuring and putting a fear into everybody? Okay, all the data you gather. What do you think they do with the data they gather? Quote, you don't need a gun and a badge. You want the guy or the gal with the hoodie in the basement that wants to do good and doesn't get security checks and has a smoke and a drink with Bob because he appreciates intelligence. Brenda Lucki named Canada's first permanent female commissioner. I don't know if this article is going to go into it. How did she get that job? Best person for the job, who happens to be a woman, Trudeau says, introducing the 24th commissioner. Brenda Lucki, who has been named the RCMP's new commissioner, the first woman to take the top post permanently. At a ceremony in Regina, the RCMP's training depot, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau with his socks and Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodall with his red drinking face announced Lucki's new role, touting her as the leader of the Mounties, needed as the National Police Force grapples with internal challenges, including alleged abuses of power, racial bias, rape, mass rape, criminal cases for big, Mr. Big cases, low morale. How much more do you need to go through? Corruption. Thanks, Morneau and friends. Lost the assistant commissioner to that one because good people spoke up. You see, in that first article, who found it? Who found it? FBI. They came knocking. You guys got a problem in your own backyard. Huh? What are you talking about? I appreciate intelligence and a drink and a smoke. Maybe I'm loaded. Quote, Lucki has made it her mission to serve the public. She's known for being a hard worker, a dedicated officer, and someone who constantly is looking for ways to improve the status quo. How about you just clean up your backyard? How about you quit being a paramilitary intelligence organization with tanks banking everybody's data? Trudeau said, adding Lucki is absolutely the best person for the job, who happens to be a woman. Can we just reward good service? Lots of people here do not even, they don't even have any kind of a career as a police officer. They don't have the mentality of a police officer at all. They just go straight into the bureaucratic mess. That's white shirts pretty much for you. Prime Minister said Lucki will play a vital role in advancing reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, promoting gender equality, more vomit salad, addressing workplace harassment and protecting the civil liberties of Canadians. Now, you see, when they say something, you have to look at it and say it's the exact opposite. What do they have problems with? They have problems with racism. What do they have problems with? Rape. What do they have problems with? PTSD, right? PTSD. Sorry, I'm highlighting this. I did turn that off. Indigenous, you got racism, okay? But they say, oh yeah, reconciliation. Promoting gender equality, you have mass sexual abuse. Addressing workplace harassment, that's PTSD. And protecting civil liberties of Canadians, well, that's this. So it's all just a lie. Everything they say. Everything. Lots of people don't want to see that, though, because we're conditioned to see our police force as good. And once upon a time, I think, in fact, it may have been. Probably, somewhat. It has been completely subverted. Utterly subverted. Facing the prospect of a new union. Yum. I saw an article, a good article that came out about from, was that Sauvé? Brian, is it Brian Sauvé? Head of the union? Oh my goodness. He's still into the, oh Jesus, they're just defense. That's not defending regular members. That's defending white shirts. For RCMP members and the fallout from class action lawsuit over harassment in its ranks, that would be what, 200 million? What are we sitting on right now? A $1.1 billion one. And they keep the same people around that are doing it. It's pretty spooky. Some of them. Mr. Big. Can't blow those Mr. Bigs. Quote, I plan to challenge assumptions, seek explanations, and better understand reasons how we operate. This means that no stone will be left unturned. Except if it's just like bulldozing houses and burying evidence and lying in court. Wow, we do lots of good things over here. She was related to that other case I went through a long time ago. You remember? She was the commanding officer of that individual in her younger days. And if we if what we find works, then we carry on until we unearth the issues that need addressing. We can't comment. It's an ongoing investigation. We can't talk about that. Sorry. You're not qualified. No. This is just we, us, and it's them and us. Lucky, a 32-year veteran of the force who's been serving as commanding officer at RCMP Training Academy. Ooh. You think they were getting all the training they needed? Like those C8 carbines. The money disappeared for them. 6-year studies. Fire the guy because, he doesn't fit us. Even though everything he said we agree with and has been independently verified. And we already have the guns. In Saskatchewan, where she focused on bolstering diversity, because this is what's important, the MAT test. Do you know, I have to confirm this. Do you realize ERT, right? Emergency Response Team? Do you know what the qualifications for ERT are? For I think it applies to both men and females. It is one of them is an 8 kilogram, 20 pounds roughly, vest over a 1.8 meter wall, round about that. I'm over 1.8 meters. What the fuck, man? And, I'm out of shape. I could do that. No problem. And that's what you have for emergency response team. The elite. Because they had to drop it to get the, what was that word that she used again? Oh, diversity. Diversity. She has served in divisions in Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan, worked with United Nations in former Yugoslavia, and trained police units in the UN civilian police mission in Haiti. That worked out well. Anybody who's familiar with Haiti. Whoa! She has been awarded the United National Force Commander's Commendation for Bravery, 2 UN Protection Forces medals, and Canadian Peacekeeping Service medal. The replacement for Bob Paulson, who retired in June 2017, was chosen by a 6-woman, 3-man committee. This is the way the white shirts work. Okay, you want to talk about like misogyny and stuff like that. How about the discrepancy at the top of how many females are running this? And I have nothing against females, obviously. I love females. But I want somebody in there who can do the job. I don't care if you purple and you have 3 heads. If you can't do the job and you have no qualifications and you haven't been a regular policeman and gone through the ranks, no. You can go and clean toilets and give me my underwear. Led by Frank McKenna. Oh, Frank McKenna, the former Premier of New Brunswick, who also served as Canada's ambassador to the United States. The job posting said next commissioner will have to demonstrate knowledge of Canada's Indigenous culture and sensitivity to the issues relevant to the diversity of Canada's population. How about those clean water wells? You know how many warnings probably do we have right now? Active water advisories on reserves. 70 plus. They're always there. Many of them have been there for years. Boil advisors. You're not even recommended to wash in this water. This is how dirty it is. We live in a third world country. Are we? And it's just, you want to, of course. Yeah, let's just get it worse. To that end, Tammy Cook Searson, chief of Saskatchewan's Lac La Ronge First Nations, was put on the committee to assess candidates for cultural sensitivity. I think we can be culturally sensitive by start treating these people, Canadians, Indigenous people, like Canadians. Oh, look at his derp head. Trudeau cited Lucki's background in working with Indigenous groups, including her induction into the Order of Merit of the police forces in her efforts to improve relations with the First Nations in northern Manitoba. I wish I can remember this fellow's name. It's just slightly eluding me. Her commanding officer that went off, and there was a bit of a problem with him. But the RCMP destroyed him. Friday's appointment comes at a time when the forces regulations with Indigenous communities are strained. Don't worry about that. We all know what you can do. Hey, Arles. Last month's acquittal of the Saskatchewan farmer Gerald Stanley in the shooting of First Nations man Colton Boushie sparked accusations of bias against Indigenous people by police in the justice system. I'm not going to wade in on this one. I'm really not, because we need to keep it as close to home. But it's a very familiar case to me, and worth a read if you're ever feeling like tuning out of RCMP corruption, bollocks, intelligence, spying, corruption, baloney bus, inventing new words, inventing new departments, inventing jobs, and pushing criminality and dishonesty on the rest of society. Absolutely terrible. Wheezy, how's it going? during the announcement, 2 RCMP officials standing behind the dais fainted. Is that not just ominous? Disrupting the proceedings after his speech, Trudeau said that he would check on the members. Of course he would. Maybe he would wear his mask. Oh, well, that's right. He doesn't. Neither does that little contingency right out in front of him, if you've ever seen it. Well, it's not little. It's huge. All the press, and none of them were. What does he know? A spokesman for the Mounties told CBC News the officers, cadets, and preparing for graduation passed out because of the thick red serge uniform causing overheating. Perhaps he should shut his speech down. Quote, it's very common for members to faint on parade. You're just standing there so long, your blood is circulating. Tammy Peterson, to that backdrop, was a big deal for them, but it's also very stressful. It is. I remember that. You go down on one knee is the way that it's done, and then they pull you out. But I don't know, something strange happened there. So I just wanted to run through, I think that's my notes. I've got lots of other stuff, but so as we can see, Ortis doesn't have really the background, right? Who chooses that? Margaret Purdy, who doesn't have the background. Brenda Lucki, researcher background. White shirt trash who has blood on her hands. And obviously, the RCMP officers didn't get sufficient training in many cases. Wonder whose responsibility that was. Frank McKenna. Frank McKenna, well, should we go into this? I don't know. I don't want to go too far off. What brings Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, and Frank McKenna together in small town Nova Scotia? Wallace, Nova Scotia. Some of the world's most powerful people have been gathering in a village in Nova Scotia annually for the last 18 years, all thanks to the networking power of Frank McKenna, former New Brunswick Premier and Canada Ambassador to the United States, and current TD Bank Deputy Chairman. All those banks. McKenna holds the annual business networking event at the Fox Harbor Golf and Spa Resort because, you know, that has lots to do with getting things cleaned up. In Wallace, this year's event on July 9th featured former U.S. President Bill Clinton, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. It's just because the issues in the world, ranging from Brexit to NAFTA to Iran to the state of Europe to what's going on in North Korea, so on and so on. You mean, oh, the world is going in the toilet because of you people, you world leaders? Huh. And so on and so on. There's just so many intriguing issues that both of these gentlemen appeared, McKenna said. McKenna, what was that? McKenna had aid. He helped somebody here. This story. You remember? Business leaders from the Maritimes and the rest of Canada and cities as far as London and the UK joined premiers, cabinet ministers, ambassadors, academics, Indigenous leaders, senior public servants at the one-day event. Perhaps they should go and ask about clean water. That'd be a good place to ask for. Oh, that you'd get arrested for sure. Guests get to engage each other in a meeting somebody they may never have known before. Oh, they generally know each other, or might have not had the opportunity to meet. It's good to lubricate the wheels of the political dialogue in Atlantic Canada, business dialogue as well. Quote, a lot of business relationships form. I get notes after every event that we host, business leaders talking about the contacts that they've made and how it's been able to open up new opportunities. During the day, some of the participants play golf because they're working hard. There's my man. Hopefully you're not too busy. I know you're laughing. I know you're laughing. They then move on to a 2-hour reception, a photo line with guest speakers, and a dinner with speeches. A debate moderated by none other than McKenna. And a question and answer period after the after-dinner receptions follows late into the night. Perhaps they go over to the RCMP mess. You know, have a few drinks with Paulson, cigarettes, very intelligent. You got that link there, hitters, for me, buddy? The one about, well, actually don't drop that in there. I don't want to get off topic. Then they move, but you know what I'm talking about. President Clinton golfed with us during the day, and he got to meet a lot of people during the day, said McKenna. It's a great chance to talk. At dinner, the menu is typically maritime themed with lobster and a meat product for those who don't like seafood. Clean Wells, I want my underwear back. The gathering began to grow in size, so he moved to Fox Harbor. Now it's beginning to outgrow that venue given the number of people that wanted to attend. Fox Harbor. Does that have something to do with Nick? Is there somebody in here who might know something about Nick? Quote, I was looking for a way to continue to use some of the brand equity that comes from being a premier and continue to contribute. You mean continue to take. This seemed like a logical way to take advantage of my Rolodex, take advantage of taxpayers, and bring people together. Some McKenna's guests, like Clinton, have attended the event, well, more than once. What news? Guests really get to know the area. This is President Clinton's third time coming back, and he's gone out of the way to accommodate it because he really likes the resort. He likes the venue. He likes the, there's an article I could drop in here. So true. But let's keep it on topic. You get some amazing conversations, ambassadors around the world that would speak to some of our local business leaders, and they get exposed to extraordinarily stimulating ideas. Oh, what's going on in other places? Below are a few photos of this year's event. Late into the night. Ooh. Yeah. Likes the venue, likes the resort, likes the stimulation. Does that have anything to do with you? Frank, shoes in. Margaret, with her B.Ed, top security job, who then shoes in. Oh, Cameron, selling secrets. Okay, now I will play this. I'm going to leave the link for it too, because it is an interesting thing. So let's go. See if you can see a pattern. I won't play it all because have fun hearing it. I'll give you a sneak peek on that. Lucky Ortis. Where's the global stream? There we go. Okay. better download that too, just so that they don't want to delete it. Oh, my apologies also. Sincere apologies. YouTube is obviously very upset. I think basically the numbers that you see are, well, I've known that one, but for sure now they're really going heavy. I believe on the Bond video, Harry Bond video, there are over 60 comments that have disappeared. Where? I have no idea. I do not censor. In fact, there's a comment in there I would like to remove, but just given my stance on certain things, I won't. As in, I don't like censoring. But really, that's 2/3 of my comments, I believe, on that video. Let's just have a quick boo. A quick boo. Oh, what? Meh. Yeah, meh. Okay. Show me your dog. Now. Yes, the mental health. We're going to get into the mental health at some point. All right. So let's just see here. Oh my. I gotta do my hair, right? Now, oh, here it is, says 35 comments now. That is absolute horse manure. In fact, let's see if I've got it on my phone still open. Probably not. And there were 80, 90 comments in there, 90 some comments in there this morning. And now all of a sudden there's 35. The views getting removed. So just, please hang tough. I understand. You have to understand these people aren't happy. They have a lot of power. They're not sitting there with radar guns on the sides of corners. What was I doing there? Right. I will drop the link in here for you because you're going to need it. Because I don't think you're going to. Yeah, very sad. Harry Bond's awesome. I have a lot of respect for that man. Now, don't fool yourself. That's actually people talking. Oh, now, see, this is the thing. I've noticed a few similarities. When you watch this press update from whatever it was a year ago with other things that the RCMP have said. Like the news conferences that we've had down in Nova Scotia. So let's think about Leather and his laughing. Do you remember that? About not using the Amber Alert, as he called it. Let's see if Lucki, who this man has compromised us so terribly. I haven't gotten into those articles, but so terribly that the rest of the world, the rest of the Five Eyes are looking at Canada and saying, you have a serious problem. We don't want to be partnered with you. This is how Lucki, the seriousness that she regards it. Watch her. Oh. Now, I'm presuming you guys aren't getting audio. Is that correct? Shall I turn on the audio? Let's see if you can hear it. Oh, now she's got the somber look. Oh, they might turn the cameras on. Oh, look at that. We're going to try and look serious now. We don't want, they're going to take pictures. Must be the very intelligent. Can you hear it? Because I certainly can't. Do you know I had to have my TV up to 100 on my TV downstairs? I should put it on my system up here. Then I will be able to hear it. Unbelievable. Does that remind you of anybody? Does that remind you of anybody? This is how we deal with things. You were banned halfway through? What are you talking about? I don't ban anybody, sir. Never have banned a person in my life. Not once. So I don't know if that's a joke and you're having fun with me, or you're serious. But if you're serious, then I might want to look at that. Not talking about good things here. Okay, so there's no audio. There you go. Oh, that's like the failing cameras in the John Dunphy case. Yeah, see, there you go. There was 90 some odd this morning. Okay, so can anybody hear it? I didn't ban you. If you can let me know somebody who did, if somebody did ban you, because it'll say your name, who banned you. I'll ban them. Well, they'll remove their wrench. I don't allow that kind of shit to happen, period. Period. So you have my apologies. Yeah, low audio. What can I do about it? That's lucky for you. That's lucky. No, there is audio. I assure you. The audio is on. In fact, we'll listen for a little bit, and Global will finally ask a question, and they'll say, "Could you please move the microphone a little closer to yourself?" This is how they do it. She does. She's like, because they don't want you to hear what they're saying, but if you listen to it, it's fairly close. They're basically saying the same things that we hear: fluid, dynamic, ongoing investigation. We can't talk about anything, right? When asked about trust, like the fire hall, same response, which is trust is important to us. We met with them. We met with our counterparts in the Five Eyes, and we're walking hand in hand. What the fuck are you talking about, man? They found you out and busted you. So let's just skip forward because it gets, they start trying to mess with the audio, Global, because they're like, how do we fix this? At one point, it actually is the audio is coming through the podium, which is off to the left. Oh, see? Yes, and that's the other thing. You don't invite anybody because it's not really that important. Only our top secrets have been sold by our top intelligence official to the rest of the world. Probably not good actors. Yeah, she needs the signer. Where's the little person in the corner doing this? Low talker. Haters, you're funny. There you go. You see?
Questions now. If you could identify yourself, use the mics in the aisles, and keep yourselves to one question. Thank you.
Oh, she's smiling.
I'm wondering if you could move the mic just slightly closer to you. Thank you. So we can get your audio a little bit clearer. You mentioned that in this particular case, the RCMP is acknowledging that Mr.
Did that person ask about moving the mic? Yep, there we go. See? Look at this. Just like a fucking millimeter. But it's not. They've messed with the tech side of it so that nobody can hear anything. because everybody knows this is what you do, right? You say you do an audio check before you do anything. No, not them. I have a feeling something's playing here. Which one is it? There we go. So it's basically a rinse repeat. They're always the same. Always.
Si vous pourriez vous servir des micros, vous identifier et puis nous demandons de vous tenir à une question.
Billions of dollars. And this is what you get. Because they don't, this is psychological warfare. Because of course you're going to turn it on. You're going to be like, what? I can't hear anything. I'm going to turn it off.
The mic just slightly closer to you. Thank you. So we can get your audio a little bit clearer.
Where's
You
that?
mentioned that in this particular case, the RCMP is acknowledging that Mr. I think it's Ortis.
Can you move the mic, please? A little bit closer.
Demandons de vous tenir à une question. So we'll just go to questions now. If you could identify yourself, use the mics in the aisles, and keep yourselves to one question. Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner. Mercedes Stevenson, Global News. Wondering if you could move the mic just slightly closer to you. Thank you. So we can get your audio a little bit clearer.
You're so
You
transparent.
mentioned that in this particular case, the RCMP is acknowledging that Mr. I think it's Ortis. So you've heard it pronounced both ways. You can clarify that. That would be great. That he, in fact, did have access to Allied intelligence. And I have multiple sources telling me allies are extremely concerned about this. Have any allied countries or organizations temporarily suspended, limited, or restricted intelligence sharing with the RCMP and with Canada at this point?
We haven't had any restrictions at this point. And again, it's early on in the investigation.
So
restrictions.
now you get the podium mic. 11:38. Let's just go back.
Once the RCMP became aware of the alleged
What
activities, we worked with partners to take immediate steps to safeguard the information. Together, we are working to assess the level of impact to operations.
From allies.
Both. There hasn't been any restrictions.
In terms of when the investigation started, can you give me a sense of the resources that were put into this when you first became aware that there was somebody inside the RCMP who had compromised information?
We have put the maximum amount of resources on this investigation. We take it very seriously, and there's multiple avenues in this investigation. It's a big investigation, so we put all hands on deck.
They're always
Can you
the
give me a
same.
ballpark on what the maximum?
Always.
I don't even know.
Always.
To be honest with you.
It fluctuated throughout the investigation from when we started, when we were apprised of the information, seized the information. There's a group of investigators and it just grew from there.
And if you do watch the whole thing, you can actually hear them, and they're trying to mess with it global, trying to get it to sound better.
I don't have it.
Answer with a non-answer, always. Absolutely. 100%.
Catherine Tunney, CBC. I think a lot of Canadians, a big question on their mind is why. There's been some reporting that suggests that he had a debt problem. Can you talk at all a bit about motive in this case?
At this point in the investigation, I can't comment on the motive.
And encryption also seems to be a huge part of this case. Is the fact that he was using encrypted services, has that stalled your investigation at all?
Given the depth and breadth of this investigation, it's taken us
The
several
depth
months to
and
get
the
to this
breadth.
point.
It's fluids, it's
That's why,
dynamics.
the
I'm
arrest
pissing in my
was
pants.
affected last
People are figuring me out.
And I understand the case is ongoing, but obviously another big question is who he was talking to. Can you talk a bit about any sense of who the foreign entity or terrorist organization is?
Again, given that it's a sensitive investigation, we can't share that information.
How can you smile? How can you smile? We still don't know who this man was selling national securities of not just our country, but other countries too. It sounds like Awan Brothers over, 2.0. And they just laugh. They think it's funny. They don't care because it's your money that pays them for their white shirts, their underwear, which is yellow pants, yellow pissy pants. It's always the same. Always the same.
Mackenzie Gray, CTV News. Can you rule out that Mr. Ortis acted alone, or is there any continuing investigation to determine if he had any help within the RCMP or any other national security agencies?
At this point, we have no indication of additional people, but obviously there'll be a lot of people that are witnesses and will be continuing the investigation. So at this point, no.
Is that like the 600, 700 witnesses? Oh, that was just 700 items, not 700 witnesses. Lie. It's just always the same. You know, and I feel badly smashing this narrative, but it's just true. Like, what am I supposed to say? I want a good police force. I don't want defunded police. I want good police, to which there's many. And they're living terrified. They're killing themselves. I believe it is 30, probably 30-some%. I'll have to get the figures of how many of them are getting medically discharged with PTSD. Crazy. Crazy. We pay billions of dollars. Can we not at least have support services for these people? Who is the psychiatrist? There's a good case. I should do that later. The RCMP psychiatrist. Do you guys know this one? Here we go. This is what you get. The guy who works for the RCMP to deal with the PTSD, the RCMP bully him. Oh, this is a different one, funnily enough. Sorry, this is not the right one. I'm thinking of, he's in BC, I believe. Is it? There's a good report by CBC, funnily enough, on it. It might be, maybe it is that man. I can't remember. I know somebody's watching right now who knows the story very well and will be yelling at me. It's eluding my mind. I believe it is him. They just harass people. You're going to go to the actual doctor who's there to treat people and harass the doctor because he's not telling you what you want to hear. Great CBC YouTube on this. Let's see if I can track it down. CBC, RCMP. And that guy's a hero too, because he stood up and he's like, no, I'm not dealing with this garbage. No, that's not it. Complaints of bullying. Like, seriously, this is no joke when I'm talking about it. Oh, that's that same goof. All of these, like, the women need to start going into these cases. There's tons of them. Janet Merlot. I do understand that some of them, the people are really fragile. That's the problem, because they've been really hurt. Where was it? I'll have to find it, and maybe I can stick it in later. And it deals with like two is it Carly? Here's another one. Unbelievable. Killed herself. Corporal Ron Francis found dead, kills himself. They just, and the thing is that we don't hear about many of these because they purposefully suppress them, right? And plus families obviously don't want to talk about that. They feel really ashamed. But there's a lot of them out there, a lot. And my heart does bleed for the vast majority of RCMP officers who are good people, live in an environment that is unbelievable, stress-wise, don't get any kind of support, don't get the training that they need. What are we to do? And then we wonder why things break down. Because they don't care at the top. They want it to break down. This is the thing. And I know that I'll lose some people by saying that. I will. Because they're going to say, oh, Seamus, you're just, listen, I've done this for years. I know. Maybe not so much in the RCMP stuff. I've definitely looked at a few cases really in depth. Full time. That's what I do. My stuff is usually much bigger, but I know the patterns. Paul Palango speaks of the patterns. Another great thing out there, matters across the board. Absolutely. There was a very good interview on Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson. Is that her name? Sorry, that's very bad of me. I'm not going to play it because it's on her YouTube channel, but I suggest that you guys go and watch. What is that? Stop making noise. This one here. I'll stick the link in. Okay. Oh. Mental health matters. Absolutely does. This fellow, Mark Murphy, she's even got it nicely lined up. I wish I was that organized, but that's what you get for having people. This fellow, Mark Murphy, great interview. And he talks all about the corruption within the RCMP. He's written a book on it. It's about a 20, 30-minute interview, about 30 minutes, I would say, maybe. Very well done. And these, like, you can just keep finding them. Dig. You're going to just keep finding the cases. If we start putting in the ATIP requests on 911 communications, internal communications, officer notes, etc., just keep whacking them with it. Somewhere in there, we're going to find stuff. And hopefully, we'll have some more people come forward. The server is having some issues, so anybody that wants to contact me can contact me via Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'll leave my Twitter account. Where's that? And if I don't get back to you right away, I do apologize. I'm trying. Trust me, I'm trying. I got lots of stuff. Hopefully one of these days I think I'm gonna hang out with my girlfriend tonight, maybe. So there's my Twitter account. You can contact me on there. Again, if I don't get back to you right away, my sincerest apologies. We'll get this stuff straightened away on, look at how small this Twitter account is. So sad. Just threw me in the toilet on that one. Okay. And is there another way you can reach me? Yes, you can reach me at nsinvestigators@gmail.com. Okay? Reach me there also. Again, I will try my level best to get back to you as soon as possible. I welcome comments, critiques from anybody. If I'm wrong about something, I need to be corrected, so I'm not spreading false information. I want to spread the best thing possible. Not, we don't want to go into this. We want to talk about facts, and there are people who send a lot of stuff, but people are afraid, and I get it. But you don't have anything to be afraid of. The time to be afraid is over, and their fear is false. It's constructed. It is. They want people to be afraid of them so that you don't do anything. And if you and I don't do something, you just leave it for other people and kids. And the trauma that will continue from other said events, and the non-closure of this one, which will not get closed, sadly, not with the way they want to hide it. We're gonna be stuck. So we collectively, it's responsibility, right? Too many years we've been saying, you guys can take care of everything. They don't. They want to screw you. And they've proved it over and over and over again. And they'll laugh at you. And they think it's funny while they do it. Who pays them? Who pays them? All of them. All of those government officials. I don't care what party you're in. You're all just in the toilet. You got to stand up. Enough of it. Anyway, I do hope that you have a fantastic weekend. It is now 10:04 on the East Coast. And God bless you all, okay? And thanks ever so much, again, for everybody's hard work. You fucking RCMP smurfs can go fuck off. Oh, Rage in the Cage is in the house. Nice. There's our friend. Hope you're doing well. We'll catch up. So thank you again. Continue the hard work, please. Don't burn yourselves out, though. It's a long battle we got. Make sure you're eating, sleeping, spending time with your loved ones, and doing stuff. But I just want to say thank you. And I know other people who need your help are saying thank you. Have a great weekend.